Again, this particular meeting organized by Dr. Yuri, who is my personal friend from St. Petersburg, and Yuri represents Anthroposophical Society in Russia, and he is, I believe, also a member of the Anthroposophical Society in England. Yuri lives in Pavlovsk, which is district of St. Petersburg, and he is a family doctor practicing medicine since 1993 as qualified medical doctor. He is member of the Anthroposophical Society in Great Britain and the Anthroposophical Medical Association of Goethe and Dornach since 1996. Lives in St. Petersburg since 2003. Member of the Anthroposophical Society in Russia since 2004. Dear Yuri, thank you so much for organizing this meeting, and it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Спасибо, Андрей. My dear friends, brothers and sisters, hello, greetings from Russia. And many thanks to Andrei for giving us the chance to meet via these devices and to see each other and to hear. And Andrei is a champion in organizing this kind of social events in America. And as you could see, people from many countries join these events. And now, my dear friends, allow me to introduce our...
Dear friends, please mute your machines. Okay, I will mute you. Okay, go ahead, Yuri, sorry. Oh, sorry, Yuri, stop. Yuri, could you please unmute your machine? So you was muted. Okay, go ahead.
My dear friends, I would like to introduce you today our wonderful guest, Frank Chester. He is an exceptional personality, and if you consider Goethe, what Goethe was for the German people, I would say Frank is what Goethe was for the German and for the whole world. Frank Chester. And if we would have a justice in this world, then Frank would be nominated as a Nobel Prize winner for at least 3 positions, discovering 2 geometrical forms additional to the well-known Plato's 5 forms. And those forms first were designated by Euclid in 3rd and 4th century before Christ. So you can imagine the contribution of Frank in this sequence of the solid forms. And also Frank is a real scientist in medicine. He discovered what even the surgeons, cardiovascular medicine does not know the details which Frank shared with the world since his discoveries. And these are anatomical particulars and functional particulars, functional specifics of the heart, which were not known before Frank's announcement. Of course, there were contributions from, at least I know, 8 people who tried to tell the world that heart is not a pump. but Frank's contribution is very exceptional, and he discovered the sacred geometry when he started to investigating heart design and its function, and especially the number 7, number 12, number 10. Number 10, just briefly, I will say it relates to the 36 degrees, which Frank discovered that the axis of the heart is 36 degrees if you look at the horizontal line, if you consider the horizontal line of our human vertical position. And my dear friends, I can also say that this Frank's exceptional biography, because it is a real case for the karmic study, because you see that Frank was nearly retired when he started to study anthroposophy, the spiritual activity. Rudolf Steiner's book number 1, The Philosophy of Freedom. And as you know, the spiritual science leads one to the pure thinking, or the so-called heart thinking. And it is not much time left for us, for the collective humanity, to achieve the goal to be able to think with the heart. And it is just 76 years left. And with the Frank's discovery, I think we will encourage the whole world, especially in the first place, the world of education all of them should have in their curriculum the subject to study the chestahedron and the Katria, these new 2 geometrical forms which Frank discovered. And also, as Rudolf Steiner said, once it is confirmed that heart is not a pump, the world of education will be recognized all over the world. And in my view, all the world of schools, they should discuss this subject seriously to introduce Frank's achievements into their curriculum. Thank you very much for listening, because every minute with Frank is gold. Dear Frank, please, it is your time to talk, and please unmute yourself.
Frank, can you please unmute your machine, please? Excellent, thank you.
Is everything okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for that introduction. I feel very fortunate that I can come and talk to a few of you people that are that interested in, the heart in relationship to geometry. This is not normal to consider that that the organs have a geometry behind them, but they do. And so far, the research on the cardiology websites and so forth, there is no model of the human heart. They don't have one. And I can understand that, because, if you look at your fist, which is the size of your heart, how could you possibly figure out there's a geometry behind it? I mean, how do you do that? So I didn't. I didn't start out with the idea of the heart. My idea was, what does a seven-sided form look like? That was my goal, and not for any other reason but my own. So I'm going to show you images. Okay, and images are imaginations. And there are two kinds of imaginations. There's subjective imaginations and objective. Okay, so I'm going to show both because both can reinforce each other. But in isolation, either one or the other, it's not that productive. So anyway, I have a list here of what Yuri wanted me to cover. It says the birth of the new heptahedron, characteristics of this new heptahedron, where is the heptahedron in nature, and the tetrahedron is the architecture of the human heart, the bell in the heart, the fifth chamber, and the etheric heart. Okay, so I'll try my best. So how is it to see this form? Is that hard for everybody to see, or is this a big screen, or how does this work? Because I don't know how much you can see of what I present.
I think
Yeah, it works great. Yeah. So if you can lift the figure a little bit up, so this will be better.
and also I just wanted to add, people can
Huh?
pin Frank, and so his image becomes larger on the screen.
Well,
Okay, I will try now.
Beta?
Well, I think it's going to work okay. All right. So I originally I took a course. Okay, I retired from teaching, and I went to Rio Standard College when I was 59, and there I took a course that was called Goethean Science. And there was a lady who came in as one of the lectures and talked about this. And for instance, this is a cube with an octahedron in it. So these are Platonic forms. There are 5 of them, of course, but these are the 2 that got me. This has 6 faces, and this has 8. So I asked this instructor, where's the 7? Because we got the 6, you got the 8. Where's the 7? Is there no such thing? I mean, there is a heptahedron, but it's just a cube with one corner cut off. I said, well, but there has to be one in between here because of this relationship, and there's no such thing like that. So I said, okay. So that inspired me to take these 2 and see if I could find out what was in the middle. Okay, this is known as air. This is known as earth. Okay, and in the tectonic forms. So what I figured I would do was I would take a piece of mud and put 7 sticks in it. Okay, and try to evenly space them, and I did, and here it is. This is the original one. This is over 25 years old, but that's the original one with the mud and the 7 sticks. So I connected all these here. Since I have 7, I should have 7 faces. But if you connect all of them, they're triangles, but there's 10. There's 10 of these. Well, that's not what I'm after. I'm after 7. So how come 7 sticks don't need 7 faces? So what does that mean? I have to get rid of 3 of these? Yeah, I do. Oh, which ones? Well, I had no idea. So what I did was I decided that I would take the sphere, okay, it's a fishing float, and I put 7 circles around it. And some of them would touch and some of them wouldn't. Well, they all have to touch. So I thought, well, why don't I just take 7 of these and squeeze it in between clay, a ball of clay, and I did. So here's how they were. This is original. And as I went around, I got to a point where the balls wouldn't come together. There was this big gap here, and there was a gap here and a gap here. So I thought, well, what do I do about that? So I put the ball on the end of the stick, and I figured if I draw those down to the bottom of the mud, I would get a 7-sided form and it'd be spherical. Because these Platonic forms eventually that come out of history, they're round. This isn't a triangle; it's a rounded triangle. So I thought that's a good idea. So I did it, and I got those gaps again, but I didn't care because I just kept carving. I kept carving. See, what I'm explaining to you is you can apply this. All you have to do is just apply this research that I went through, okay, and something new can come. I'm telling you, I know it can because I have at least 10 more forms I've found that have never been seen before. And they're real unusual. They're really beautiful. Anyway, so I kept going until I got to the gap, but I didn't care. I kept carving. I kept carving and carving and carving. And I came to the points. You can see the points there. They're still there. But then I got planes. Okay. So once you put circles together, one like this circle and another or sphere, and put them together, where they come together, they flatten out into a plane. So what I got was this. This is a real one. This had 1, 2, 3, 4, and it had 3 of them, and it had 1, 2, 3 were 4. So here we go. Here I took half of this. This was 8. So I got 4 triangles, and then I took half of the cube, and I got 3, 1, 2, 3 quadrilaterals. They're a square, which is 4 quadrilateral, but the square had to be kind of pushed in. Well, at least I had something in between these two. So then what I did is I made this very, very objective. And here it is. I came up with 42 planes to do this. And so what I did is I took plaster of Paris. I took 7 cups of plaster of Paris, and I filled them all up the same height, and I poured them in here. Poured one here, poured one here, one here. So the first one I got was a triangle. There's the triangle in plaster in Paris, and the other one that I filled out was a kite. And this was accurate. You can see it's accurate. And so what I came up with was the first 7-sided form that had equal surfaces. In other words, this surface if this was a 2 mile square surface, this is 2 miles square also. So they're equal surfaces. They have 7 points. They have 12 edges. Okay, and this is the discovery of the Chestahedron. All right, so now you saw how I did this. So I'm going to put these things over here. So I had the room. Okay, so I took the Chestahedron and I put it in edges only. Here it is, edges only. And see that? And you can see the top. I think there you can see the top. Maybe don't do that. Don't I keep it scissors. Yeah. That's okay. Can you see the entire form?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So what I decided to do is I wanted to find out where the middle of the chestahedron was, because the middle is very important. If I could find the center, because all electronic form, you can find the center. Okay, then if I find the center, I can turn this inside out. Okay. And also I can find out if there is something that floats in here. Okay, so the first thing I did was I took this triangle at the top is smaller than the bottom. So what I wanted to figure, if I could get the middle, if I could find the middle, maybe I would just have to bring these the triangles together. So I'm building this triangle, pushing this one down, and at the same time, I'm taking the bigger triangle and I'm lifting it up. And up I go. And what I'm trying to do is to try to find where these two meet. What's happening? What's going to happen here? So as I kept going up, okay, and I got it right to where the two triangles, the red and the blue, meet. And sure enough, okay, there's a 6-pointed star. So that's the Star of David. It's used throughout. It's just used everywhere out through history. I mean, it's not connected with one religion. The Star of David, okay, is connected with a lot of things throughout history. All right, so this bothered me. I found the middle, but maybe that's not the middle because the distance from here is not the same. It's not the same. Well, that's really bothered me, but I did take my calipers that measures golden mean, okay, to find out, by gosh, look, the star hits right perfectly between the golden mean. So this was 1, this is 61.8, 0.618, and this is 1. That's a very important measurement if you can find this in a form. All right, so, but I don't know if that's the middle. I'm not convinced. And I'm not convinced because this is not even. It's not even. Okay, so why this was important is because this is the heart chakra. This is known, throughout history of anywhere that chakras are used or studied. And sure enough, you can see there's the 6-pointed star. Here's another example. Now, what's so interesting about this is this has 6 points. And so is this middle, the so-called middle. But on the outside of the heart chakra, there are 12 petals. Okay. So one of the things that really encouraged me is this has 12 edges. There are the petals again. There are 12 petals with a 6-point star in between. There are 12 edges. That's amazing. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside for a minute and I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you the end of the lecture right now because I think it would be kind of know that there's something going on here. Okay, this is the latest work, the most important thing I think I've ever found, and it shows the movement. It shows the archetypal movement of the human heart. There it is. This form, okay, has never been in the world, ever, but it's been in the heart forever. Okay, this is the movement that goes on in the heart. And this is the archetypal movement. It's not complete, of course. This is the archetypal. Everything follows this form. And you notice that I have on one side, I have numbers. I have here I have 1, and here I have 8. That's because we're looking at 8 layers in the human heart. Anyway, so this is number one thing. And I'll talk about this and explain everything at the end. But, you know, when I go back to this and I shows the heart chakra and there's a 6 and there's a 12, it's hard to realize that what is he talking about? How can this be the heart? So one of the things I did was to try to find the middle was I blew a bubble in here. I blew a bubble. And this is what the bubble looks like. This is the bubble inside the tetrahedron. And you can see that it's all organic. So this is called minimum surfaces. And what you do is you just blow a bubble in any form if you want to find the middle or what's inside it that you can't see. See, you can't see this. You only can see it because I constructed it out of plastic based on what I saw when I blew a bubble. So here's the inside. Okay, you can see that how close it looks to the left ventricle of the heart. Stick here, I can hold it. See, the left ventricle, the right ventricle has been removed. See, this is the right ventricle. I removed it. And here is the inside, and here is the tetrahedron bubble. Minimum surfaces that comes from geometry. All right. So one of the things that's interesting about what Rudolf Steiner said, and so I will bring up some things that are really important to hear because this this helped me in my work. Okay, so in this article there are 3 references in here to a small box that's in the middle of the heart, a small box. This is indications and motivations are being engraved in the etheric heart, the small box that was spoken of. There's another one. Rudolf Steiner speaks of a small box in which everything concerning our life is recorded. So that means karma. Okay, so where else did he talk about that box? I think there's one other one. But that little box in there is very important. And the trouble is that where is that? How did that come about? Here's another one that says, one, and you can see that not only say it in an abstract way, my next life is being prepared today in karmic detail, but one can point to the little box in which karma rests, awaiting the future. Oh my gosh. No, okay, so if that is true, okay, so how am I going to find a little box in here? I mean, I found the outside of the heart, and then I'll show you how I found the inside of the heart later. But how did I do that? Well, I took the form, which was a small one, tetrahedron, and I have to put this cloth out here. What I did is I dipped it in soap. This may take a while because it's so if I blow a bubble in here, let's see what happens. that usually happen. It takes a while. You just have to be patient. What's that look like to you? That was a cube. I got one. And you believe that through this process of minimum surfaces, this I might be able to get. There it is. Can you see the cube? That's gone. Does anybody see it? I want you to believe me, I'm not lying. There is a cube in this through minimum surfaces. I'm going to try a little bit more, and then I'm going to go on. But oh, there it is. Gone. Okay. So that little tiny box that he talks about, okay, is in the chestahedron, okay, in minimum surface. You have to remember minimum surfaces, everything is trying to become a sphere. Okay, so the geometry around that's the bubble is inside the geometry. The bubble tries to become it's trying to be a sphere, but it's got all of these planes that hold it back from becoming a sphere. See, these are planes. So everything is trying to become a sphere, but the geometry won't allow it. And that's why you get the shape of the chestahedron that look like the heart, because there's a relationship there. So if I put the chestahedron and I just use the edges, I think I draw mine here. If I just use the edges, yeah, see these edges, these points? They're called vertices. And I cross them. And I cross these, and I cross these, and this is what I got. This is the crucifixion that's coming out of the chestahedron. There are 3 crosses, and they meet at the top, which would be represents thinking, and then the arms meet, and between the 2 thieves in Christ, you have feeling life, which is coming out of the hands, and then they go all the way down to the will, okay, and they're at the bottom. And inside there's those 2 triangles that make a star right in the middle of this form. There's a star. So there's 1 triangle, 2 triangles. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 triangles, and there are 3 crosses. 1, 2, 3. So I'll show you something, that big one. You can't see it all, but I show you how beautiful this is when I made a big one. I mean, there's never been a crucifixion arrangement of design like this, which I didn't design. I told you how I did it. I just had to take the points. Okay. Now, I don't know how many people are I think most of you are probably familiar with the flower of life. So one of the things you want to do is when you discover something or do something that's new, is you want to relate it to the past, because the past has a lot to teach you about the future. Because you can't go into the future without going into the past. You can't. If I fill a glass of water and I push the water across the table, what does the water do first? It goes backwards and then it goes forward. It's a natural thing. I can show you here. If I take this cloth right here, now, when I push this, watch what happens. This goes backwards. This goes backwards before it goes forward. It's just like a bow and arrow. You have to pull the arrow back before you go forward. You have to do both those things. They have to be together. They can't be separated. So if you go forward, you have to go backwards. So I took the flower of life and I put the chestahedron in it. There it is. So the flower of life, okay, has the six-pointed star inside the chestahedron as one circle in the center of the flower of life. And what's so amazing is that that same circle that has the rubber bands, the red and the blue, that circle in the middle is the same circle that's on the outside. Okay, this is called the seed of life. So you have the tetrahedron, okay, one circle. And how many circles goes around? 12. There's the petals. Again, that's coming out of the chakra. And it's coming out of the tetrahedron because there's 12 edges. You see how you have to put all these things together? But still, what bothers me is that this thing is still not right. I mean, this isn't in the middle. I mean, the star's in the middle, but look at how the bottom here, from the bottom of this disc, and then from the disc to the top is much higher than at the bottom. Now, I'm still disappointed, although this is hot. And this, look at the bottom, same thing I did a little differently. So that there it shows you the 12 circles with the one in the middle. So what does that indicate? That's the 12 disciples, and you have the Christ. All right, so Yuri asked me to talk about this being in the earth, about the tetrahedron being in the earth. So that's fine. I can do that. So I'm going to do it now. So what I did was, there's the center of these circles. I made another circle right here. See this circle? I did it here too. A circle. See the circle? That's in between here. See this? Here's this circle. This circle is halfway between, okay, the outside and the middle of the six-pointed star. So this will take me a little while. I haven't done this with the computer, but I'm going to try. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on here and see if this is going to work. All right, I think it'll work. All right. So I found a globe. This is the bottom of the globe, which is actually the apex, which is in the South Pole. And then I put this on top. There. Now you can almost see it. Top. I got this thing around the outside, which is, what's that? Okay, so what I did was I put this justahedron, okay, and here. So that this is the bottom. And then I put this on top to make a sphere around the justahedron. And so I put it there around the circle. And now, being a total sphere, exactly in the middle of the sphere is a 6-pointed star. Exactly. I've solved my problem. The problem is how in the heck do I find that 6-pointed star, okay, in the center of something? And it's in the center of the globe. It's the center of the sphere. Now, these 4 points touch. Now, here it is in the Earth. It doesn't rattle around. It doesn't just float around. Now, Rudolf Steiner said that in the center of the Earth was a tetrahedron. Okay, he said somewhat of a tetrahedron, and I have the lecture out of this, which I sent you. It's called. It's got quite a few pages. It's the cause of volcanism, and he said that based on the volcanism, okay, there was a pyramid in the Earth, some kind of pyramid. So if I put this size into a sphere, it just rattles around. Okay. So his idea that there is a pyramid is interesting, but it's not a tetrahedron. But these points right here do make a triangle. Okay, there is a triangle. So I figured out what size, if I use this triangle and I use the Earth as an example, it has to, let's see, I'm going to put it up here. Okay, you can see the height of this is a lot higher than the tetrahedron. But the 3 points I have here. But the tetrahedron touches the other end of the sphere, whereas the tetrahedron would. So this is how high the tetrahedron would have to be able to do what he said. He said that 1 point was in Japan, 1 point was mid-America, and 1 point was in the mountains in Russia. And of course, the other end is the South Pole. So if I made the tetrahedron, that it's the same height as the one that he had drawn that didn't work. So you see, I used the same size. I used the same size triangles as a tetrahedron. So he was right. There is a pyramid-like form in the Earth. It's just a 7-sided form. Wasn't here yet. All right, so I'm going to finish this up. And you'll know what I did at the very bottom now. Because I found out that there is a cube. And the cube lines right up with a flower of life. Because the outside of the flower of life is triangular. So I'll see if I find my original one here. Because it's so big, it's hard to show you, but here it is. You can see that the flower of life is really a hexagram. How about this? Can you see those? See, these are flower of life. See how it's a hexagram? There's a hexagram. It's 6 sides. Okay. So a hexagram is really a cube. If you flatten it out, okay, There's a hexagram. I'm thinking about where I can move it. Hey, wait a minute, I have an idea. I set this up in such a way I think I can do something. Not bad, huh? All right, here's the hexagram. All right. So all you have to do is you take the center of the hexagram and you spread it out like this, and it turns into a perfect cube. Oh, what's so amazing about this is when I put this cube in the flower of life, exactly where the world would be, the globe, and the tetrahedron, the sides of the cube touch the sphere. Now that's just wild that that can happen. Why isn't it either bigger or why isn't it smaller? There's something behind this geometry. So these are the kind of things that are so important for me to show you. Now I'll show you something else. This is an example of a dual. So if you take a sphere and you put a cube around it, okay, they touch. In other words, the cube should touch the sphere at its point. So the center of a face should touch the point of another form. And then you put a sphere around around the cube, okay, then all the points touch. These are amazing experiments that all of you could try. But what's so amazing about this is that this cube, okay, this cube touches the globe, okay, tetrahedron touches the 4 points that Rudolf Steiner mentioned, okay, and then they all relate to the flower of life or to the seed of life. See, this is important because this is the flower of life is probably the first geometry that was ever discovered, okay, by the human being. That's how far back. So no measurements, you just take the stick and you just tie another stick to it at a distance and you make a circle. And you keep going and you get 19 circles. I mean, the Steiner, the first class is 19 lessons. And, 19 is the 7 and 12. So here you go. The 7, which is the middle of the 7 is 6. Okay, and around is 12. See how all of these numbers work out. But what's so interesting is I've never, so far in this process that you see here, I've never used a ruler. I've never measured anything. Now here's the tetrahedron, okay, and the flower of life again. Now if I put a sphere, it's this one. See, the copper is the globe of the earth. And of course, here is around the outside is the cube. Now remember, in the process of this, that the cube, okay, is completely surrounded by the heart. All right, so I can see that my time is getting close here. And I'm thinking if I'm through, well, let me show you something else. Now this is an interesting form. And why this is interesting is because this is this spinning. Okay, the cube spins and the very inside here, okay, is curved. And the outside becomes pointed. And this doesn't touch the globe. So here it is here. It shows you how that geometry works. Okay. Let's put this away. All right. So if I lift this up, okay, you can take the base away and you can put the base over there put the base over here. And then I'll set it down. Right. There's a major discovery. The major study of the human heart. I thought my computer was moving. My wife was moving the thing. Anyway, all right. This is I guess you would call it a mystery. The cardiologist calls it, they call this is it's just never been known. They've been trying to do it for 300 years, but no one's gotten it. Okay, so they call this an enigma. This is what the cardiologist calls. And that's this. It shows that there are layers in the heart. There are 8 layers. There are more, but this is how they studied it. What they did was they took a core sample out and they found out that the layers of the heart are all in different directions. You can see this direction, and then up here is completely the opposite direction. And in the middle, it's completely even, straight. Okay, so here's other pictures of the layers of the heart. Okay, so why haven't they been able to figure this out? And the reason they haven't been able to figure it out is because they cut the base off. The base is the top of the heart. But all of these have the base removed. Oh, why is that? What they're trying to do is to figure out how this works in the heart. How does it work? They figure that they are sheets. Okay, they're sheets and they wrap around in different directions. Well, I did too, because that's what they said. So I made those sheets, and here they are. Okay, and in different directions. And I also did it with just cups. And then I cut it out so you can see that the layers change directions. Okay, and I found out how that happened. But you can't make it out of sheets unless you cut the top off. Here I did the same thing. I cut the top off. But what I found out is that the layers of the heart aren't sheets, they're ribbons. Okay, the ribbons. So here is my example of the heart. And I also cut hell out to find out and to show you what's going on. And what I found out was that if I take a bend I took a ribbon and I knew that the directions of the muscles on the inside of the heart, which is called the endocardium, and then the epicardium is the outside of the heart, and they're going also in the opposite directions. Okay, so what these are loops. They don't know this, and why is that? Because they cut the top off. And underneath, they didn't notice that there was also another ring, okay, and one inside another ring. And that is the reason that the myofibers go in different directions because they're one. What's amazing is this is the endocardium and the epicardium are the same. And the reason they never knew that is because they cut the top off. They never knew. They just knew that there were these two angles, but they never knew about the top. They didn't know that the endo and the epicardium are the same ribbon. And you can't do that with planes because planes are flat and you can't curve over like this and go in different directions. You can't do it. So that major discovery, I found out that these are the 8 layers. And these are how they work. First layers, okay? This is number 8, and this is number 1. This is 1, this is 8, okay? You notice they're spiraling. And one of the things I discovered that they don't know also is why the apex doesn't blow out. The reason it doesn't blow out is because it's a shutter, and it just shuts itself into the most unbelievable tight configuration, which I've shown you here. And there's the configuration of the bottom of the heart. It's like a shutter like they use in the camera. And as the muscles, okay, as the muscles move into the center and to the other layers, this is 1 and 8, this is 2 and 7. You can see how they're still they all spiral, but they get smaller as they go in. And these are the examples of these. So if you put them all together, here's the geometry of the heart that they don't see. They haven't seen this model. Here it is. This is how it works. There's the archetypal red lines. Okay, they're white here. And they spiral in clockwise and go down to the bottom, all the way down to the apex. They come out of the apex. Look how they come out of the apex. Now I've opened this up so you can see inside, but this will close up like the original one. But there they are. And what happens is that they are going across each other. Okay, in other words, they're spiraling in here. In the opposite direction, they're spiraling here. So that means that this band, the one I had, this band goes down and comes out the outside. This is one continuous band. That is, I call it a trifoil loop. And this is the archetype of the human heart. And what I think is really going on is that this is movement. This is movement. I think it's in the cosmos. This has never been found before. And the outside comes up, goes into the inside, goes across and goes back up and goes in one loop. If I stretch this out, this is just a circle. So now, I mean, there's a lot that can be known now about where you do surgery on the heart, because this is the muscles. And I also want to tell you that this is also the flow of the blood. This is how the blood flows through the heart. Because the muscles are actually just a solidification of blood. And if you follow the blood and you follow the muscles, the myofibers, cardiomyofibers, they're the same. So when I see pictures of the heart pumping And they say it's pumping, it's pumping, it's pumping, and it's working so hard it can take a gallon out a minute out of go through it, and it's working so hard it's not working. It's not working hard at all. The heart is really quite relaxed. What's moving is the blood. The blood is moving the heart, and the heart controls the amount of blood that's going to the organs and the capillaries. Okay, and it's appropriating the amount that is needed by the organs. Okay, and that changes how much it's the so-called beat. But this is not working hard. That's why the heart lasts so long and it can deal with so much blood, because the heart is quite relaxed. But the blood isn't. That blood is moving like mad. Steiner said that if you eliminated the heart, that the blood would just burst out of the human body all over the place. Okay, so the heart is not pumping the blood; it's regulating how much blood is needed that the organs need at the certain time, or how much the soul works, the heart, how much the heart has to appropriate blood for itself. So this is the major discovery I did, and this is a picture of the chestahedron spinning. So when you spin the chestahedron, it turns into a bell. It also shows you the side of the inside of the human heart. So this is the chamber inside. It's organic now. And I found this by spinning this bell. Okay. And I don't know if you can see it, but there are black lines in there. And those black lines I've been able to show look like this. This is what the form looks like spinning inside, which you can't see unless you spin it. And of course, this part is the inside chamber of the left ventricle. Here it is spinning. You have to draw these things up, make sure that they're accurate. And then the most amazing thing to me was this. And this is the temple of Hathor. It's a temple. This is the area where people who have a birth starting, a woman goes here to have their babies. Okay? So what you have is you have Hathor at the top, and she's known the princess of stars. She's the princess of the universe. And all the stars, okay, are pentagrams. They're all pentagrams that go all around. Here they are, pentagrams. All right. So the chestahedron comes from a pentagram. And how would they know that these stars, when folded up, become bells? So I made the bell, the chestahedron bell. Okay, and I blew these up. I blew this drawing up, that you can see it's the bell. There's no doubt about it. So what's happening is that Princess Nut swallows the moon. Let's get her right. I'm sorry. All right. This is Hathor. This is Princess Nut. She swallows the moon. 9 months later, she gives the birth to a son. And out of the sun come all of these bells into a cube. And this is the cube because you can see that outside here and here and here, they weren't able to really draw a cube as well. And that's Hathor. Okay, so this is the incarnation, okay, of the human being. And of course, our hearts. So we don't incarnate with our kidneys, okay, or with our forehead. We come in the little box is in the heart. And that's how we're incarnating, and the box, the little box inside, okay, is represented by Hathor. So Chestahedron has been recognized. There's a Chestahedron there that's 6 stories high with all the people around it. The lights would go from red to blue. Here's the inside of the left ventricle, okay, and the blood goes in clockwise, okay, and it goes out anti-clockwise. Imagine that. So I was able to figure out how that happens in the heart. So you can see that the heart, okay, the blood reverses itself. Look. So then I decided, well, since I figured that out, why don't I also include the aorta? Because from my research, the aorta is also doing the same thing that the heart's doing. It's taking the blood and it twists the blood. Very simple. It twists the blood. This is actually what happens at the heart. And it's twisted enough that it starts to bend like this in the middle, and then it makes almost a knot, and it kind of ends right there. That's where the little box is. Okay, and if you look at the top of this cloth, you'll see that hard to see, but I can do it. So how possibly can the blood go in one spiral going clockwise and leave into the aorta exactly the opposite, counterclockwise? And there it is. This one here is exactly the opposite of this one. Okay, and that's how it happens. And you can see that this one turns this way, and this one turns this way. See how they're opposite? It's amazing. Now, so I figured that out. I made one that shows the inside of the heart. Of course, these are the chambers. Okay, and this is part of the canal that goes out the aorta. And of course, this one turns the opposite direction as this one. And when you get to the top of the aorta, remember this is going to the brain, so this is going the same direction as what's coming out of the heart. But in here, it changes directions and it goes the opposite directions here. So here we go. I'm going to turn this one this way, and that one should turn this way, and this one should turn that way. Now look at this. It's never been seen before. Can you see the difference? Can you see this turning one direction and this turning the other direction? Let me turn it around some more here and see what we can do to see the opposites. There are the opposites, and then of course the aorta coming out of the descending aorta. Okay, the aortic arch. This is the descending part of that arch. Okay, it's turning the same direction as the blood coming in, but then it reverses on the outside, going out. It turns into the opposite direction, and then this one turns in the opposite direction of this one. A whole new form. This is called a decatria because it has 13 faces. Deca 10, Tria 3. This has 13 faces that goes around the chestahedron. It goes around the chestahedron. 13, and again, that means just that's the Christ and the 12 disciples. Again, protecting the heart, and this is the etheric. All right, so here it is inside the heart. And that's what you have to make sure is that if you do a dual, that the inside of this has to go into the chestahedron, okay, and the chestahedron has to go inside the decatria. That's called a dual. And what this dual does, I was told by the head of the mathematical science section at the Goetheanum, that if I could find this form, if I could find the dual, it should be in everybody's nightstand who's had a heart problem, either in the hospital or at home. Well, it took me a while because I thought it would be like any other geometries. It would be just the opposite. So if it was a 7, it should be 14 sides. It's not, it's 13. No one ever knew that because then no one has ever taken a dual of an interval. The chestahedron is an interval. It's not even. It's uneven. It's the black key of the piano. It's an interval. And therefore, it is a transitional form. It's transforming. Okay, that's exactly what the heart is doing. The heart will be changing. Okay, and maybe not in our lifetime, but it will change. Okay, and that will become more connected. Even now, it's becoming more connected with thinking. Now, a lot of people now, some of the heart people are making up stuff like this and figuring out a synapse in the heart and so forth. Well, where are they? They haven't found them yet. But the idea is that there is going to be thinking connected with the heart. Now, if I go back to the cube and I take the chestahedron with both the internal, there's the internal. See how I can make them move? You can see you can't make geometry move. You can make geometry move. Look. This shows how the heart works. And the heart goes into a cube. Okay? That's again the cube. But of course, the cube's not there anymore, but it was there in the original design. And you can see there it is going that way. These are X-rays. And then if you look at the other side, there it is going in on the other side there and on the top. So the heart sits in the human body is approximately between 35 and 36 degrees, which is called root 3. And root 3, according to Rudolf Steiner, has been labeled as the formative forces. Of course, here's a cube, see, a bowed out cube. That's the shape that the bubble makes inside the human heart. I'm just about ready to show you this. If you take the chestahedron and you put the dodecahedron inside it, the stars, the 6-pointed stars, are at the same error. They're at the same level. They're exactly the same level. The stars, the 6-pointed star and the tetrahedron, I mean in the chestahedron and the 13-sided decatria both have stars in it exactly at the same place. So if you spin this, you start to see that the two work together in making each other stronger. Okay, and that's why he said it would be good for the heart if I could find the dual. And the reason is because the dual helps the chestahedron. If you take the chestahedron, okay, there's a tetrahedron in the cube. If I take that out, it's also at root 3, and I put it into the chestahedron, you see how it makes the triangles. Okay, so if I take the chestahedron and I flatten it out into 4, and I flatten it out more into 5, it's a complete plane. And it's a picture. The chestahedron comes from a 5-pointed star, which is where you saw Princess Newt. Okay, she had pentagrams all over the sky. Rudolf Steiner said, he said, the image of the pentagram is the seal of the etheric body. This is the new form, never seen before, and the only reason I have it is because I made a dual of the chestahedron. This form has never been here. And we don't know, I mean, how many people are going to find this? I don't know, but the scientists sure have it. Okay, and everything I've shown you, not one time did I measure anything. There is no mathematic measurement here, although I know how a lot of it relates to math, but I didn't need the math. I only found the math afterwards. Well, I've been on an hour and 20 minutes. I had to rush really much. I got so much more I could show you, but you got a good taste of what I do. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. It's not many times I get to talk about these things. And of course, then I could talk about in depth all of these different processes more than I have.
Thank you very much, Frank. And it is more than academic presentation you shared with us, because it has so many dimensions, and it's amazing. One should establish a new university to study this, because it's not possible just in few Zoom conferences to get the scale what you presented just for such a brief time. Just if you allow me, I would like to say that Rudolf Steiner mentioned the word casket, not
That's
the
correct.
box.
That's one of the points. That's right.
Yes, and also we would like to think about what you mentioned, that you already pointed that the heart in our present incarnation, it one can say sucks in our experience, our motivations, our moral deeds, and all kind of deeds, and that gives us the future incarnation. It's kind of, the heart is the center of our inner universe, which makes our next incarnation impact for our next incarnation. It will unfold in our next incarnation what now it sucks in. And also, Rudolf Steiner pointed that in the blood, in the heart, we have two ethers to deal with, the warmth ether and the light ether.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize. I don't have the right ventricle because I'm still working on it. But I'm real close to figuring out that 85% of the blood is blue, 15% is red. So the blue blood in the right ventricle is all about water or moisture or planes, because the blue blood are developing in planes, which the veins are really flattened out circles. Okay. Whereas the arteries, they're really tough. I mean, they're round and they're a vortex. So I'm sorry, I'm just not ready to present the right ventricle yet, but I'm working on it.
Good. And also we could say, to share what Rudolf Steiner said, that the heart is a sense organ, and it senses, well, it is a mediator because the higher self of our being senses via the heart, through the heart. So a heart like a lens for the eye, where the retina receives the light from the external world. So our higher being, our self, receives through the heart what comes from the outer world and from the inner soul world as well. So the heart is a very special organ, not like any other organ, because from the anatomical point of view, we see just the muscles, whereas other organs like liver, kidneys, lungs, they are proper organs with their functions of secretion, etc. And the heart is exceptional organ. And thank you very much, Frank, for bringing all these details. Indeed, we need to unravel each moment of what we recorded and establish courses. And if you would help for the future generations and also for the Waldorf curriculum to point out the paragraphs of the implications from your discoveries, because your single discovery gives the whole range of implications for study, not only for proper materialistic study, because we need to go through that as well, but also for the esoteric dimension you mentioned.
Yes, I'm aware of what Steiner said that you mentioned, and I mean, I've been, as you can see, I've been close to a lot of the things he said I are finding are right, just through my work. And my intention, of course, wasn't to work on the heart, it was to find seven. That's it.
In what year did you come to the heart? Because you first in the year 2000, at the start of the new millennium, you discovered the tetrahedron, and 16 years, about 16 years later, you discovered Decatria. And when did you come to the heart question?
Well, when I found the seven-sided form, I spent 2 years trying to find where it was. Okay, I want to know where it was. And so the first thing I did when I discovered it in January of 2000, I had worked on it in 1999. I had already worked on it for quite a while, but I didn't really find it until January of 2000. So the first thing I did is I thought it was a crystal. So I studied crystals, I don't know for how many months. I studied crystals. I realized that crystals don't spiral, okay? They're not a vortex. Okay, so that eliminated the crystals. So then I went to plants. And of course, seven is very, very highly found in plants in the flowers, the petals, okay? And I thought maybe I would be able to find that, but they're basically two-dimensional. But I did get close with the rose petal, not the rose petal, but the bud. I thought it was a rose bud, but I followed the path curves of the rose bud in relationship to the bowed out tetrahedron. No, it wasn't there. So I gave up plants. And then I went to animals. Okay. And the animals led me to the organs. So it took me 3 years to find a heart. I studied 3 years to find out that it was the human heart. And I did that by I found a model of the heart at the University of California in San Francisco, a model And on the bottom of the model, there were 3 edges. I saw these 3 edges, I saw this one, and this one. And I saw that they go up and then they flatten out, which I couldn't believe. So here's the heart. And you can see that there's this one edge, there's the other edge, and there's a third edge. Okay. And when the edge goes up, it flattens out. And that is what was my first indication that I really maybe had the heart.
Yes, and also
and look at this, Yuri. If you take the tetrahedron and you spin it, you see there are 2 circles. You see that?
yes,
You see there's 2 circles
yes,
or not? No?
yes,
Yes.
we do.
All right, can see it, huh? All right, here are the 2 circles. See those 2 circles? Can you see them?
Yes,
So this circle is outside of the tetrahedron, and this is the one that you can't see unless you spin it. Okay? And look, that's the top of the human heart. This is the aorta valve, this is the mitral valve, and this is the outside of the heart. And the mitral valve has the geometry of a triangle, which is the triangle of the tetrahedron. Okay, you can't see it unless you spin it. Okay, but there is the geometry, and that's so amazing. Is there it is, and that also is the flower of life. The heart has a relationship to the valves and the outside of the heart and the flower of life.
yes, and also Rudolf Steiner pointed that in the heart, the etheric and astral come together. It is also a unique situation because nowhere in our body etheric and astral come together like in the heart.
The tetrahedron is the etheric, and the reason I say that is because it's planes, not this one, but the one inside are made up of planes. The etheric is based on planes, and the decatria, I think, is the astral. Now, it's just speculation on my part. I can't prove that, but that's what I see, or what comes to me. So what you say, if it's what you say, I have an explanation. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but I do have an explanation because the decatria, okay, is really lines, whereas the tetrahedron are planes, where the heart that I show in the bubble is the physical.
So that means that decatria relates to the astral.
Yes, absolutely. The decatria, okay, is, like I said, it's just lines. Okay, see, there's points, lines, planes, and then there's the third dimension. Okay, so the astral, okay, is the lines, which is the lines indicates the astral or air, and the decatria is light. It's a form of light because it's just in lines. Okay, another thing I want to, can I go a little off on the side? The new map that they're saying, especially this actor, this famous Hollywood actor, is saying that he's found that math is now everything like Euclidean geometry is all lines. Okay, this is Euclid. And he's saying that that's incorrect math. There are no lines unless they're curved. Okay, well, the reason that's true is because you need the Euclidean, you need Euclid before you can get a curve. Okay, or the curve's just going to be nonsense. But unless you have the geometry behind it, okay, what he is saying is actually a minimum surface, which is what I'm showing you with the bubble.
Yes, it's a projective geometry needs to be introduced together
Yes,
with
it does. It does.
Euclid's. Yes, because every living being cannot be explained from the forces of attraction, the earthly forces of heaviness. Because here we see that every biological creation needs another science rather than the Euclidean geometry and Newton's physics gives us.
Yeah.
So
to go back to the lines, which is the Decatria, you see, the Decatria isn't there anymore. It just like the cube, they're both gone. But the life force is, it doesn't leave. The astro doesn't leave, and neither does the etheric. It's there.
yes,
And another thing is that there's going to be a lot more interest in the human heart. You watch YouTube, I'm sure that it looks to me like people are starting to wake up to the heart. And also they're working up to this ridiculous idea that came from Harvey. And Harvey's the one who found circulation. And he said, well, what's making the blood move is the heart. The heart is a pump. Okay, that was 300 years ago or more. They're still using that to this day. They're saying it's a pump. And the thing is that this guy who said it was a pump, and everybody's still following it, his buddy, his best friend, okay, and his life was Galileo. He talked to Galileo about the heart being a pump, okay? And when we're still talking about it, the heart is not doing that. The heart isn't working hard at all. Under circumstances, most of the time it's kind of relaxed.
Yes, you are right. And Rudolf Steiner pointed that we need to share with people our observation, because what we see depends on where we are looking at, where our attention is directed to. Yes. And for example, in my medical studies, I discovered also that the heart is not working as a pump because every textbook, medical textbook, says that the circulation in the human being is closed. But in fact, careful observation shows that there are no direct anastomosis connections of veins and arteries. The venules and arteries, the small vessels from the red blood and blue blood system. So that means that we cannot talk about the heart as a pumping machine, because in the circulation like that, where there are no direct anastomosis, no connections between the arteries and veins, because between them there is a tissue which is known to the medical world interstitia. It's a medium which is filled with the connective tissue and other elements, but no direct anastomosis between these two. So That means that somehow the blood pressure should arise in those two systems, in the arterial and venous system, because the conventional um, story goes that heart works as a pump, and it makes the blood pressure in the whole blood system. But now we can see from all these evidences which you produced and all other scientists who contributed to this subject, like also Dr. Tom Cohen and this two our anthroposophical friends, John Barnwell and Douglas Gabriel. They also contributed a lot to this proof that a heart is not a pump. So
Right.
we need to bring all these evidences in one place, in one book, and share with the world of education and spread all over the world, because they will learn from the anthroposophical movement, from Rudolf Steiner, from the spiritual science, the truth about the heart, about the blood system, about the heart and the vessels, blood vessels system. Because up to now, people studied medicine, this aspect, in a distorted mode of perception. That means that it was created in the astral dimension. What Rudolf Steiner said, when we think something wrong, we produce phantoms like demons, demonic phantoms in the astral world, and that attacks those brains, those souls who produce these astral phantoms. And also the humankind is under attack of these wrong images from the astral plane, because they think wrong about how our organism is organized, the particulars, and having in mind this wrong picture of our human being, and especially after Pavlov, when he studied this digestive system, and he also related the human body as a machine, and that is a wrong picture of the human being, of the image of the human being. And your discoveries contribute a lot to the real picture of the human being, and starting with the heart system, with the heart itself as an organ of perception. And as you said, it is a kind of damming place for the blood. It regulates the blood, not
That's what it does.
it takes it from the blood system carefully, gently, and gently passes further to the organs where the blood is needed. So it's kind of
That's right.
yes. So thank you very much, Frank.
Can I just say one more thing? I
Yes.
have examples, and I can show this. I can show this with some of my work. I just didn't have time. But the heart moves in 6 directions at the same time. The
Wonderful.
geometry moves 6 directions at the same time. 3 opposite directions as the other 3. So as you are going forward, you're going backwards, I mentioned. If you turn right, the heart also turns left at the same time. But it's moving in 6 directions at the same time, not just this one and this one. At the same time. In 6 directions, can you believe it? And I have models to show it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And also, our dear friends, you could see on Frank's website a visualization how our heart works by making a kind of twist for the 50 degrees, because this twist movement of 50 degrees is a combined movement of the inner muscles of the heart and the external outer muscles of the heart, this simultaneous movement. And also, our dear friends, Frank discovered for the first time this lemniscate form of our muscle strips, this muscle ribbons, these 12 muscle ribbons. And also, just to point, we know from the spiritual science that the lemniscate is at the core of the Earth evolution, whereas what from the spiritual science we know that the previous planetary stage had the spiral movement at the core of the previous planetary condition. So the lemniscate is a basis of the Earth, of the current Earth evolution. And your discovery was done. You found that clay of mud in the river where the first gold, the golden rush in America started. And interesting enough that Rudolf Steiner said that all this light which is coming towards the earth from the sun, it is the gold which makes our heart, and also it makes the real gold, the metal gold in our earth confinements in the concrete, like this metal like lava, congealed lava, because before it solidified, it was movable, it was fluid-like, all kind of metals, including gold. So this your discovery in that river where the golden rush in America started is linked to your karmic biography, because you had this wonderful protected childhood, which is very important, because when a child has been loved, has been bathed in love by their parents, by their mother, and the child produces in later life this amazing capacities, this genius qualities. So we have to say to the world, please care about the childhood. Please make the society, the so-called threefold society, which gives the protective childhood to every little one, and also heals the world, heals from the injustice, and from this demonic striving to control humans, to establish this new kind of a new world order from this economic world form, and from this forces which we know that they work as anti-social forces, and we need to establish the threefold society, brotherhood, real brotherhood, and you help a lot. You contributed to this to this spiritual movement, because discovering the truth about the human being, about the heart, it just awakes more people in the world, and make enthusiasm fires them up to study the spiritual science, anthroposophy, the gift from the spiritual world. It's a true science. And what you discovered, it just shows that science should expand its boundaries, because the true materialistic science, as Rudolf Steiner says, it will bring to the spiritual, to the discovery of the spiritual. And so your next task, Frank, I see you please put the list of things, the implication of each of your single discovery. Make a list of which you consider important, like branches of a tree. From each joint, you have new branches growing. And also, please connect your discovery to the four ethers, because we need to make connection to the four ethers, apart from the warmth ether and light ether, which we mentioned. They are related to the heart. Now we need to connect also the chemical or tone or sound or number ether, and also the life ether. We need to find where they are in this construction, in these forms, in these geometrical forms. Yes, so because we know that the spleen was connected to the heart in terms of this expansion. The spleen has this chemical ether and life ether involvement. And we have to think about the lungs which surround the heart, because the lungs, they like one can say a kind of casket, which in the future incarnation of every human being becomes a kind of skull, and our lung, they also belong to the digestive system in a way, because we know that the liver and the digestive system, they become part of the brain, our brain in the next incarnation. And what we have, our liver, it will, our eating habits, they will contribute to the disposition of our brain as an organ of thinking in our next life. So we have to care about this as well. Sorry about just introducing this in other subject, because you said a lot, and we need to digest it, and perhaps our friends from our audience also have questions to you. And please, dear friends, thank you very much for your comment and for your attention. And we are looking forward to Frank's further presentations. And thank you, Andrei, for hosting us. And we are very grateful that Andrei made it possible for us to meet it here and to have these records of this meeting and share with those friends who were not able to participate today in our current event. But they will look at the record and they will study all what you showed. And yes, please share with us next time more from your discoveries, because you need to establish a new university, which Rudolf Steiner, he had a dream to establish a threefold medical university. But in my view, it will relate to any education, because the first course of this threefold university, it embraces the whole cosmos. The second course, Rudolf Steiner related, it would be the study of the etheric part and the fourfold part of our human being in terms of anatomical composition and the threefold part in terms of functional composition. Like the spirit, soul, and body. And fourfold, we know that the body, the physical body with the phantom underlying it, the etheric body, the astral body, and the eye organization. So this fourfold anatomical being and threefold functional being, it would be the second course. And the third course, Rudolf Steiner said, one should study the moral aspects of the human being and in terms of medical science, it would relate to the relation between the doctor and the patient. But anyhow, this threefold model would fit into the university which you could introduce, because it is a strategy. We have never seen such a study arrangements yet. So it is a dream of Rudolf Steiner, and it is our task and the future generations to establish this on our earth. And your contribution would be of untold value. So please think about the future universal arrangements, university arrangements, university program for studying your discoveries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, dear Yuri. So I see Frank for some reason disappeared from my screen. Frank, are you still here? Yeah,
No.
probably some problem with connection.
Possibly Marianne has questions. Marianne Patterson
Yuri, I mean, Frank
Thank
is
you.
not here.
from England.
I'm an arts therapist from England. I know Frank from the past, many years past, and I was a little involved in the English version of his bell. He made a wonderful bell of this form, and to bring in Yuri's melting gold, Steiner's reference to this in the earth and the sun, I gave some very precious, very, very old jewelry of gold, red gold and yellow gold, to be given to this beautiful bell. Here he is, to be given to this beautiful bell with the intention that it would ring in a special way. And I'd love to ask him if he's going to try to bring this again, because it meant an enormous amount to those of us who added a very small amount. But I think it would be wonderful to hear it sounding. The sound of that bell would be wonderful. I ask him, could he please take it further once again? Thank you for this wonderful lecture. I'm sorry I was very late. I had to drive here rather fast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marianne. It is lovely to see you. And perhaps there is a technical problems because Frank disappeared for somehow for some reason. So we will ask him. Yes, we will pass this question. Maybe as soon as he is online, he will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, dear friends, do you have any question so that we could pass to Frank next time, and Andrei will record those questions?
I have a question. My name is Connie.
Yes, please.
Hi, I had the privilege to do a workshop with Frank about 25 years ago in California. And I'm with the extra lesson work, if you're familiar with the extra lesson work. So we were studying the cube, and Frank was looking at the cube with us, and we made our three-dimensional cubes and the planes of space that is part of the work of the extra lesson that Audrey McCowan developed as a concept. And that was fascinating. And this was fascinating. I'm wondering about that princess he was referring to. Is that a legend, Princess Lu and giving birth to the moon? Does anyone have a reference for that?
We will ask Frank to share this reference, and then you leave your contacts, your contact email, and those friends who would like to receive this reference also, please send to Andre your contacts so that we will be able to share this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I share something of?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Frank mentioned at the beginning that he started at Rudolf Steiner College. And I wanted to say hello to him because I had the privilege of being the person he stayed with during that time. And he stayed in my house. And it was just a wonderful experience to have conversations with him every day. I'm a biologist, very interested also in geometry. My good friend Gira Vermeer won the Genius Award, you know. He studied the geometry of seashells, and he was blind. He not only studied them with his hands, but he collected them on the shore. Anyway, that was one thing I wanted to share, and what a delight that was. And I had a sense that, you know, this guy was going places. The second thing is I recall both of you mentioning regulation. And, you know, the heart star of the lion in Leo is named Regulus. And it's interesting how that word has become related to the heart again, because it's meaning from little king, apparently, to actually regulation and control fits our purpose exactly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's an amazing biography we can learn from Frank's case, because he was predestined to make these discoveries, and his efforts and his will he brought to his discoveries. It's amazing. We can just marvel at such an individuality. And as I said, for America and for the whole world, he is like Goethe for the German nation and for the whole world. Because as Goethe made his discoveries, which we appreciate only now, so the future generations will more and more appreciate what Frank discovered, and will study in details every bit from this.
Exactly. These hands-on models rather than abstract mathematical and statistical approaches. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
Who's going? Philippa, or who's going first now?
Well, any.
Okay.
Please do.
Philippa, my son has gone now, but he was asking what the medical profession make of this model of the heart surgeons and so on. Is it being accepted or is it being ignored? Do you know?
Well, as a doctor, I learned recently about Frank's discoveries. So I could not see so far any articles relating to his discoveries. So it means that the official medicine still is not aware about these discoveries. We are lucky to be the first ones to receive from the first hands this knowledge.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
So they are still back behind us, the official medicine.
Oh, if I may I ask a question?
There was a lady, another lady.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. My question is the small box which Frank discovered in our heart, and this is where our karma rests. Is this in the etheric heart?
Say again, please. I couldn't hear the last few words.
Yeah, Frank mentioned that in our heart is a small box.
Yes, casket. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the place where our karma rests. And
Yes.
I'd like to know, is that the etheric heart or direct the physical heart?
Etheric or physical, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, as Rudolf Steiner pointed, it has non-physical dimension because in the heart itself.
What?
If you are not.
Frank can answer your question.
Yeah, I'm back on, I guess.
Good. Yes,
So,
we can see you.
I heard one of the questions. Do you want me to respond to it?
Yes, please.
Okay, one of the questions I heard was, has the medical group or society or organization had anything to do with this or with my work, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, the main problem with this work is I'm not in the system. And since I'm not in the system, okay, I don't have a doctorate degree and I don't have anything that leads to that status, okay, that they would even listen to me, and they don't. They don't listen to me, including the Gurthiana. So the medical section, I've given lectures at the medical section at the Gurthianum to the doctors, and that's it. No one ever asked me a question, ever asked me to come back. So I have no a medical recognition at all because, like I say, I'm not in the system. I got one email from a doctor, and he asked me a question, but then I never heard from him again. I had a cardiologist come over to my house that worked at the Mayo Clinic here in, I think it's in Michigan. But anyway, and he was really enthusiastic about it, but he was more interested in how he could use it, not in developing it anymore or whatever. So that's been over a year or two, and I've just moved on, and he hasn't. So that's about it. Except yours.
Well, it shows how the spiritual awakening of our colleagues, anthroposophical colleagues at the Goethe is. That means that they unfortunately not able to see the spiritual and practical applications of your discoveries, but they are immense. As I said, if the world would have justice, you would have 3 Nobel Prizes for your discoveries at least. But there are more discoveries than they would cover with their Nobel Prizes. Honestly.
Well, Yuri, I didn't start this to be accepted by anybody. I just, no matter what happens, it's okay because I'm going to continue the work. No matter what, I will continue my work until it's over. And as far as being recognized by the doctors and the cardiologists, if that doesn't happen, that doesn't affect me. I'm still going to work.
That's wonderful. And as I said at the beginning of our meeting, that you studied philosophy, the philosophy of freedom.
I did.
Yes, and also I learned from the article about you that you developed afterwards this kind of perception of your thinking, of your mind, that you could see the form without preliminary drawing, without drawing or visualizing this, so that you would just see it in your soul as an image, and also this kind of transformation, metamorphosis of any form, and it is also a thing which we can learn from the philosophy of freedom to arrive at this pure thinking. And
I don't know where you read about me in relationship to that, but I can tell you that all of this that I showed you today, I didn't see. Okay, it came to me. I didn't see it. Okay, they weren't something I started with or copied or anything. Nothing. And now I tell you, I worked so hard to do this, and now I can see forms before they're here. So something's happened to me where I can see forms. I don't have to make them anymore. I can see them. Okay?
yes,
That didn't happen to me before. I wasn't. Steiner said that geometric studies lead to clairvoyance, and if that happened, if that has happened to me, I'm grateful.
yes, and also your inspirations, which you had, you said that you had to stop the influx of all those inspirations you got every night,
Oh
because
my gosh, you are right. I don't remember where you got this, but I mean, there was a time where I had to say, listen, now, I need to sleep. I need to relax a little bit here. You guys got to back off. As kind
yes,
of a joke, I was kind of just joking, but I had to do that because I got the answers, and then I got the new question, and then I got that answer, and I wasn't getting any sleep.
yes, and it also shows the level of inspiration, because from the anthroposophical point of view, we can see that this is higher than angels level. It is probably an archangels, because the level of your discoveries, the dimension of your discoveries, it exceeds anything close what we studied so far in ordinary sciences. So it expands breaks all the boundaries of the modern science.
Yuri, excuse me, we have still a few questions, people just waiting.
Yes, please. Yes,
we finished at Helen. She got some kind of partial question answer from you, but looks like Frank is present, so she can just repeat it. Helen, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is the small box, which was mentioned is in our heart where karma rests. In
Yes.
this box, karma rests. And I like to know, is this in the etheric heart? Do I make my question clear?
It's okay. It's in the etheric because it's coming from minimum surfaces, and minimum surface. Okay, that the cube itself. Okay, I showed you. Okay, that's physical, but the one that's in the heart is in the etheric. That's in the etheric box, and it's
Casket.
no box. I tried to, and I got it a couple times, but yes, it's an etheric heart. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and Anthony is next.
Yes,
Sorry,
please.
Yuri, just for sake of order. Anthony, go ahead. Just unmute your machine, please.
Yuri, you began the introduction, Frank's introduction was saying that we have 76 years left. I was just curious if you can make that very brief. What you're referring to? Was it the heart, the thinking with the heart at the end of the century?
Yes, Rudolf Steiner pointed at the deadline. It is 2100, so 2100 years. The deadline for the humanity, for the humankind to arrive at the capacity to be able to think with the heart thinking.
No, if I may ask Frank a quick question as well. Frank, we met in Sacramento many years ago. We met in Sacramento many years ago, and then we met in North Vancouver again a few years ago. The question that I have is that your work, this is incredible creative work that you've done, and you said it was given to you from the spiritual world, essentially. What I think you've done is opened a door to what Yuri has just said, that if humanity doesn't realize the actual activity of the heart, the reason we have a heart, the reason that we are human, how can we ever begin to think with our heart? And there may be a few short years, but you've introduced something of incredible importance. Grateful for it. I'm sure everyone else that has been listening to you has been grateful for it. So my thought is, as Yuri said, there has to be an institution, a way to bring this out into a larger world so that people begin to think about the heart. And by thinking about the heart, they will actually begin the process of thinking spiritually about the heart. We live in the consciousness zone period, and that's the avenue. That's the gift that we've been given to create this idea that we are spiritual beings through thinking of the heart. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chester and Yuri.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for these words. Unmute yourself, please. Frank, unmute yourself.
So about thinking with the heart, okay. What we have to recognize also is that thinking also takes place not in the heart, but it takes place in the blood, and the heart is the great receiver of what the blood experiences, and if the heart is moving in 6 directions at the same time, and there are 3 opposites. Okay, and that is a way that we can start thinking about our behavior as far as what we get attached to or not attached to. And the heart is a central balancing organ Okay, it's all about balancing. That's what the heart is all about, balancing the human being, the blood, the experiences. And most of the experiences that we have here on the earth is objections. There are opposites. There are barriers. There are things that try to influence us, okay, to get polarized. And that polarization is what brings, to me, the polarization and the lack of getting out of it, okay, and everything that we do is what I think leads to heart attacks, because the heart can't handle it when you're polarized. It just can't. The heart is there to balance and to help you. It's there to help you is what it's trying to do. And it's trying to help you in our experiences on the earth, because we're not going to have these kind of experiences when we cross the threshold. And we have them right now. And that heart is there to help us like you can't believe.
Yes, please, Anthony. Unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. The heart also is, one can consider that the new Christ consciousness, because this has to be brought into our own consciousness, that is where we're moving towards. And often it's left out of conversations, but I think it's the most essential part. The Christ consciousness, and we talk about the blood of Christ, etc. as well, which was the most purified substance on the earth at the time, and still is, because it's gone into the etheric world of the earth. And so I just wanted to make that point, that it's part of our thinking with the heart, as part of bringing into our heart the Christ consciousness.
Indeed.
Well, I certainly agree.
And also, it is the third week of Easter, dear friends, and congratulations, Christ has risen. Yes, and we are so lucky to hear each other and to talk about such important things for every human being on our earth.
Dear Yuri, there is still questions, so I'll be able to take it?
Yes, please.
So I think George Aitken. George, do you still have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
It's more maybe a bit of an observation. Frank, you said that the heart's not really exerting itself when it's pumping.
It's not pumping.
No, it's not. Well, what I mean is, as we sort of visualize it in modern science, as it were, that people think it's pumping, but what really sort of goes against that in a way is that you think the heart pumps over 100,000 times a day if you take it as a pump. 100,000 times.
There's no pump like that ever. You know, that's looking at it physically. You know. And
well, that's what I'm trying to say. That what you're saying, I think, has validity. That how we should be seeing the heart, because a muscle can't pump 100,000 times a day.
That's right.
That's true.
Higher. You know, I mean, can you imagine sort of pumping your bicep 100,000 times a day? And someone lives to 100 years of age, 100,000 times a day. You know, I mean, it's crazy to think of it as a pump. In that sort of sense.
Indeed. Because if it would be a muscle work for a muscle that would be as big as an elephant.
Yeah, it's that's the sort of point I'm trying to make there. The other thing was, I came across a paper written. It was quite a few years ago. I managed to get it out. I don't know if you've come across that. Can you see?
Yes,
Have you come?
Yes.
What's that paper before?
What was that?
I was just wondering whether you'd come across that paper. It was written in a sort of maybe a bit of a way out journal, the Frontier Perspectives journal, by mainly some anesthetists from several American schools, medical schools. And they point out a lot of discrepancies that people have observed, cardiologists have observed, which sort of indicate the heart isn't really pumping in the sense they think it is. For instance, they comment on the fact that there's a point in the circulation of the embryo, and I think you'll probably know this more than me, that Steiner had said we should study the embryo if we want to find out about the circulation. And there is a point in the embryo where there is 2 flows of blood apparently within the single chamber circulation, which flow in spiral in opposite directions. This is before there's any cardiac development. Also, that in the chick embryo, the circulation, if I remember rightly, is actually flowing without any propulsive element at work in it. So it's just sort of going round. Also, they did some experiments where they were dealing with chick embryos. They removed the heart, as it were, and the circulation still continued for 10 minutes or so. Another observation they made was that if you look at the ascending aorta and the curvature of it, when the heart pumps, the curvature increases, whereas you'd expect with a propulsive pressure mechanism, the curvature would expand out and not increase. And lastly, if I've just what I can remember is that measuring the pressure in the ascending aorta during the cycle of the so-called pumping action of the heart, the left ventricle, that the pressure in the ascending aorta exceeds that in the left ventricle. The reason the blood goes out the left ventricle, according to the heart, the pump mechanism, is that the pressure increases as the left ventricle contracts, opens up the aortic valves, so the blood goes out. But a point happens in the cycle where the pressure in the ascending aorta exceeds that of the left ventricle, yet the blood still comes out, if you follow me.
Yes.
So I mean, they're just observations that go against this sort of propulsive idea. And also getting back to the so-called muscular action, you know, it's not the whole heart that's maintaining the circulation according to the pump theory. It's just the left ventricle. And you think of that little left ventricle pumping 100,000 times a day. And I think the anesthetist in this paper said, you know, what this little left ventricle doing, thinking of the way in the conventional sense, is that it's lifting a weight 150 pounds, 100 yards up into the sky or something like that, if you add it all out. So, and having spoken to a few cardiologists, I mean, they do realize these discrepancies between the current thinking, but obviously, as you say, it hasn't quite entered mainstream. Anyway, just a few points of observations that this particular paper made.
Well, I can tell you, I can just tell you a few things. Well, first off, if you study the embryo, the circulation of the blood is going on. I think it's been 3 to 4 days before the heart even enters the body. The heart enters from the head, and the circulation, okay, is going on without the heart. Without the heart.
Yep.
So that's an experience we've all been through somehow. And also, a lot of what you're talking about in the ascending aorta is not based on pressure; it's based on suction, and that's the trouble is that they only look at pressure. They only look at pushing. But
the point is, Frank, though, is that they're looking at that way, but they're still seeing the discrepancy to that thinking because, as some Chinese philosopher said ages ago, you know, the pressure, things flow from high pressure to low pressure. And they recognize that that what we're getting here is a low pressure flowing to a high pressure in the way they think about it.
Mm-hmm.
which I find kind of interesting.
The thing is that anytime that there is pressure or not pressure, such as suction, is because the arteries, the aorta arch, okay, whatever, changes its direction of going down or going up. If it goes down, it's basically pressure. If it goes up, it's suction. And it's both of these things working together, and they want to isolate them, and that's where they get in trouble, because suction and pressure are going on at the same time. The blood moves, okay, in a vortex in opposite directions, but yet still goes forward. And that's what I have found in this study I did with turning this example I have here, is that these two work together and they're not isolated. And yet they still move in one direction, even though the vortexes are changing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I found that. But, you know, it goes against anything anybody's ever said about what's going on, which is what you read.
Yes. And also,
what I'm trying to say is that what these authors are trying to say, I think, is that, and one of them actually comes from, well, at the time, the Rudolf Steiner Research Center, is they're questioning, they're not proposing that this is what happens, they're questioning that the observations that science made in the conventional thinking are contradictory to saying that the heart is a pump.
No, you're right about that, and they are too, because, I mean, if you just listen to what you said that you got from this article, it's just ridiculous thinking it's a pump. It can't do that. I mean, it is a worse design you could possibly make in the physical world based on the heart as a pump. You could, I mean, it can't, it just won't work. I mean, the best Steiner came up with is the RAM. Okay, but in the end, that doesn't work either.
Yes, what George said, it should be part of the Waldorf curriculum. And also, another detail we could add that the blood moves in the spiral, whereas in the center there are red corpuscles. Erythrocytes, and on the periphery we see the white blood leukocytes, and that means that the heart cannot work as a pump as well, because otherwise this order we would not be able to see this order, this kind of red in the middle, white at the periphery. It would be a mixture, like when you use the hose in your garden, pouring on your plant. It goes in all directions, you know, like firework, like you know, fountain. Whereas in our vessels, the blood moves in this very strict order. Red in the middle, white at the periphery. And we've got a question from Nancy. Nancy, are you ready? Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I am ready. Thank you very much for calling on me. I am a medical doctor. I'm an MD in New York State, and I was in Michigan. And Dr. Branco Furst has been a mentor of mine and is still. And I do believe in the heart not being a pump. I also love to know now that there are 5 chambers in the heart. And this idea of the torus and the vertices, 2 of them going at the same time in opposite directions, it's fascinating to me, and it's answered so many questions. My question is, now is the time for us to study the heart even more, because of information technology and AI, and what is happening with possibly the nanobots in the vaccines and in shedding. And I would like to know some my question is, how do we increase the etheric in the fifth chamber? And
you disappeared. Your voice. No. We cannot hear you.
I'm sorry.
Could you repeat your question again, please?
Ask her to turn off her video. That will help her transmission. Turn off her video.
Turn off your video and we can hear your voice. Maybe Andre will help to.
There's something strange going on.
Nancy, could you switch?
Let's make a little pause, please. So, dear friends.
Okay.
Yes. Could you please except Nancy and Frank, can you please mute your machines because we have some kind of background sound. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Well, quality is kind of bad.
Yeah, there's.
No, we cannot hear you.
Oh, my iPhone won't.
Could you switch your video off, please, so that the signal.
I hear you. I'm so sorry. It's my iPhone, and I do not have Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just use your voice and switch off your video.
I'm trying.
Okay.
My iPhone won't respond. I'm having some.
You had your video off before.
I'm trying. My iPhone.
No, it doesn't work. Shall you maybe say if you
responded?
No, it's just we cannot hear.
Nancy, if you record your question and send to Andrew, please record your question.
Okay.
Put her question in the chat.
Or yes, or put.
I did, and I'm.
Put in the chat. Put your question, please.
Dear Yuri.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Are you okay? Now you can hear me?
Yes, please.
My question is, how do we increase the etheric in the fifth chamber? And will the information technology and the nanobots keep out of that fifth chamber? Or if they cannot, how can we as anthroposophic medicine physicians key out the IT and the AI, keeping them out?
Okay, so is that a question to me?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, the fifth chamber, okay, I don't know anything about it being physical yet.
Right.
Okay, so the energy of the etheric, okay, that would be able to accumulate and become stronger, okay, from my search shows that under great stress of the human being, that the heart has to slow down instead of speeding up. And if you can work on that, and
wow,
what?
I'm flabbergasted.
Oh yeah, no. This is from my research. It shows that that through meditation, through our practices, through whatever, if we control the heartbeat in that, not the beat, but it control the way the blood flows through it by slowing it down. We need to slow the heart process of blood. And the blood is responsible for usually an emotional trauma of some kind that the heart has to deal with. And so we have to work on how we handle the amount of blood that goes through the heart under stress.
George, another George, or who put the hand up?
That's me, George.
Okay.
I had a question for Frank, and also perhaps you, Yuri, and that's I wondered if you could comment on artificial hearts, on their workings and the implication they have as well for humanity.
The artificial hearts, okay, are 180 degrees off. Okay, this actually the opposite of what they're doing is what's needed. The heart with these little motors, okay, they're causing all kinds of troubles because the arteries start to bleed, okay, and the half of them aren't working. I had one doctor that told me he had worked on 2 motors, one for the left, one for the right ventricles, okay, and that they were pumping, okay, they were pumping the blood, okay, and then they were all proud that after the guy died that they were still running. So I thought, what the hell is that? What kind of success rate is that? If you know what I mean. I mean, these motors, okay, the heart doesn't work like a motor. It just doesn't do that. The heart doesn't have a constant flow of vortexes. It has a great variety of what it goes through as far as the blood reaching the organs that has nothing to do with a steady motor. I mean, they can't make a motor to do what the heart does.
Well, and from the anthroposophical point of view,
so wrong.
We could say that because the elemental beings are involved in our physiology, they are distorted by this artificial, this involvement, artificial gadgets in the blood, in the heart, and these electrical devices, because they affect these elemental beings working properly. And also, it affects the moral aura of the human being, such an intrusion, because we have our own disposition, but this artificial intrusion changes somehow, interferes into the normal course of events. And what Anthony pointed out, we need to think about the Christ etheric stream, which Rudolf Steiner pointed in one of his lectures, the etherization of the blood. Whereas before the mystery of Golgotha, we humans had this etheric stream from the heart coming to the epiphysis, to the pineal gland. And after the mystery of Golgotha, Christ etheric stream is an additional stream which is introduced into our heart. So, and our task is to consciously connect these 2 streams, and it is what we have to envisage in the future and work on together with the heart thinking, because it underlines the same process, the bringing to the consciousness, to the etheric streams, to the pineal gland, and also to perceive with the heart. Because we know that this pineal gland in the past used to be the organ of perception. And it is the place where our future the higher principle rests the spirit man, which has to do with the life ether. Because as we know from Rudolf Steiner, Christ brought to life what was suspended from the Lemurian time. That is the chemical ether and the life ether. So Christ brought these two aspects to the humans, and Frank will work out how we discern these aspects in this structure, in this geometrical structure of the heart. And so what Anthony pointed out, this etheric stream is very important to protect and to care about. And possibly Nancy will take this as an answer as well, together with what Frank said already.
I can't hear anything. Hello?
Thank you very much, dear friends, because I noticed that we were muted, and now we will ask Andrei to check whether there are friends who would like to ask any additional question before we finish today. Because it was a lot we mentioned, we brought up many important questions. And also, we are looking forward to our next meeting with Frank, and possibly this question will be addressed next time. Let's ask Frank, how do you feel? Will we accept new questions, or we just finish and bring those questions next time to our next meeting?
Well, whatever works for you works for me. I am so privileged that someone will listen to me and about this 25 years of work.
Yes, it's very exceptional. I cannot find words to say how important it is for the humankind, for the human race, because the human race is very slow. For example, when the tin can was invented, it took about 50 years to invent a tin opener.
Any way that you want to set up another meeting, I'm here, I'm retired. This is all I do. I work every day. So if you want to have another talk, it's just like me working, it's fine. I like it. This doesn't put me out, you know what I mean?
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, George, do you still have a question? Unmute yourself, please, because I can see your hand.
Okay, yeah, I just had one more. I wondered whether you could both comment on heart transplants. Yeah? Or
well,
no answer.
Oh my goodness. There's so much about it that we don't know, but what's so interesting is that the personality of the person who donates their heart is partly taken up by the person who receives the heart. And that I find very, very interesting, that the heart has gotten used to an individual.
Mhm.
They're getting better at it. I know that. More people are receiving them. Okay, I know that. That's quite an operation. They even have memories of the person that they received the heart from. They get memories from that person. So much so that I heard there was one account where the person was murdered, and the person who received that heart, they found who killed this man.
My goodness.
Yeah, and I've heard that.
Hmm.
Yeah, my goodness is right. So, I mean, there's something to that. There's something to this, a memory, okay? Muscle memory of some kind.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, and also Lord Stanley pointed that it is the area where the etheric and astral come together. So it should accumulate also in the heart, in the physical heart, some imprint of this astral and etheric life of the person who donated this organ. And so also there is a question from our friends. What is the source of the circulation's moment? From Rudolf Steiner, we learned that it is the astral and eye organization source of movement, because astral has contraction effect on our secretion and voluntary movements and in our digestive tract and in the vessels. The astral has this kind of construction movement, and our eye organization has this warmth ether, which is involved also is participating in this process of circulation, blood circulation, because as George mentioned, from the embryology, we learn that the blood moves before the heart is visible, is developed, before the chambers of the heart developed, before the shape of the heart developed. The blood already moves. So that's also a proof that blood moves without the heart, prior to the heart being developed as an organ.
Well, you have to, if you look at the chestahedron, okay, it is the development that comes also from a tetrahedron spiraling in a cube. And of course, the tetrahedron is fire, and as far as the elements, and also not only is it fire, but a more appropriate probably way to say what the tetrahedron is, it's warmth. It's the source of warmth in the geometry of the human heart. It's the source of warmth. It's amazing. And also, if you think about it, Steiner using the tetrahedron in the earth, he used 4 points. And there isn't the only platonic form that has 4 points, okay? And the tetrahedron has 4 points. And it comes from a tetrahedron that I can show you mathematically. It's not mathy because I don't measure anything. But I can show you how the tetrahedron slowly spirals in a cube and takes the shape of the chestahedron, which is the heart. My goodness, can you believe it? That this is coming from a warm platonic form. The heart
Wonderful.
is based on fire, which is
warmth. See, fire is physical. You can see it, but warmth, you can't see warmth.
Sure. Yes, let's, Frank, let's demonstrate, make a demonstration this next time, because we were asked, we've been asking just to close our current meeting. Yes, and it's yes, it was a joy. It was a festival for us, for our souls, to have you, Frank, and sharing your knowledge today with us. And we will have beautiful dreams tonight after saying goodbye to each other. And thank you very much, George, and thank you very much, all friends, for our wonderful questions. And let's find out from Frank and Andrei about our next meeting, and we will announce this. We'll send it via emails. And thank you very much again to everybody. Let's just to wave, and Andrei will close our meeting.
Thank you, Yuri.